Welcome, patrons. I get a lot of requests to talk more about Tevinter, and I think to do so we really need to break down a few things first. One of those things is the Old Gods. So much like what I'm doing with the Elven Gods, let's dive into each of the Old Gods one by one. Today, let's go over the Dragon of Slaves, Andoral. The Old God. First, because this is really the first time talking about it, what is an Old God? The blunt answer is that we don't really know. While they take the form of dragons, they are more than that. We know that they're sleeping in the deep roads and were once able to speak to humanity through dreams. But once the giant rift in the veil was opened, they became silent and the blights began soon after. So when you think of the Old Gods, don't just think dragons, think some sort of powerful thing that just takes on the form of dragons, because why not? So with all that out of the way, Andoral was known as the Dragon of Slaves and the Old God of Unity. While modern Thedas seems to focus on his connection with slavery, ancient Tevinter seemed to focus more on the unity part. The Thedas holiday Summer Day was once called Andoralis, and was to celebrate the summer and for marriages. According to the Chant of Light, when the high priests were trying to get into the Golden City, each high priest took a title, rather than use their own family name. The High Priest of Andoral used the name Appraiser of Slavery. Now, we aren't quite sure if this is something that was made for the Chant of Light, but at the very least, one of the magisters that we have seen in-game has forgotten his own name, and now goes by the title in the chant. So it's possible we might actually meet an Appraiser later in the series. Other things in the series that carry his name is the Fortress Andoral's Reach, located on the border of Orlais and probably Navarra, maybe the Anderfell, I don't know. The borders and nations aren't really well defined in the series. Anyway, the fortress was once sacked by Andraste when she attacked the Tevinter Imperium, and was the temporary quarters for the rebel mages in the Dragon Age when the circles all came down. This is also where Wynn is buried. Fun facts. Andoral is also associated with the constellation Servani, which is of a man in chains. This constellation is also used on giant golems outside the city of Minrathous, and used by the Trisylis Guild. What is the Trisylis Guild, you ask? We have no idea, but on a guess, it's probably a guild of slave traders. The Archdemon. Andoral awoke in 512 Exalted and became the Archdemon of the Fourth Blight. You can read more about really the specifics of the Fourth Blight in the novel Last Fight, but for the most part, the major details, he rose near Antiva, completely took it over, and then hit the Anderfells and the Free Marches really hard. He was defeated by the Grey Warden Garahel in 524 Exalted during the Battle of Aisley. Garahel was killed, being overwhelmed by the spirit of the Archdemon, so unlike possibly Arthemiel, we assume that Andoral is truly dead. He's also one of the only Archdemons to have a known picture of. The Theory. There is a common theory around the Elven Gods and the Old Gods are somehow connected. Some believe that they are actually the Elven Gods, while others take the stance that they are connected somehow, maybe like how Corypheus uses his dragon in Dragon Age Inquisition to help himself be immortal. I've even heard that the Old Gods are like keys, and when each one dies, it unlocks part of where the Elven Gods are locked away, as there are 9 Elven Gods and only 7 Old Gods, but we know that Mythal and Fen'Harel were not locked. So, while I don't completely subscribe to the series, I feel like we're just missing something to really make it make sense, I do want to take a moment and talk about the what-ifs. If Andoral is connected to an Elven God, which one is it? So to collect all of the symbols we know of his, it's slavery, chains, and unity. With that, here are my best guesses. June. This would honestly be my first guess, as while the Elven God to the Dalish is the god of crafts, his true purpose is actually unknown. And as I detailed in my last video, I think there is a fair chance that it could be of slaves. But then again, this is all based on a theory. The only concrete proof I have is that the other Elven Gods seem to just fit better with other Old Gods, leaving Janae with Andoral. Selaise. This is my second guess, as while Selaise is more associated with domestic arts and hearthkeeping, she is also invoked during weddings. If we focus more on the unity side of Andoral, Selaise isn't a bad choice, as her arts keep the unity in the Dalish camp, and Andoral's feast day was also a day of weddings. Gilinan. This one's a bit of a stretch, but Gilinan is known to create animals and monsters and other sort of weird body horror, whatever. There is a theory floating about that she created the Canari race and that they were once used as slaves for the Elven people, which suddenly would make her the creator of a slave race and close to Andoral. But again, all of that is literally based on a fan theory, and if that is proven wrong, then there's really not much to connect Gilinan with Andoral. Andruil. Again, this is a bit of a stretch, but Andoral is called the elven god of sacrifice. In Tevinter, a common thing to do to your slaves was to use them in blood magic rituals. And that's really the only connection I can make with her and Andoral, other than that their names start with the same 3 letters. And that, dear patrons, is all that we know on Andoral. If you still have lingering questions, proof that I'm wrong, comments about your own fan theory, feel free to tweet me at @Gildathon on Twitter or send a PM to user Gillanon on Reddit. Terrestrial.